Welcome to another exciting part of Foster's Weather and Season. And what we're going to do is look at how you go from the JRC to the paragraph because we've started noticing a few trends in student work and we just wanted to add another layer of support to help scaffold that learning process. Your JRC that you completed on Canvas really focused on why does weather or season matter, what does each season represent, and then describing the common implications of the weather elements. So your JRC each week falls into two categories really. The first category is just the basic content. So you can see that right here. This is just making sure that you've mastered the content that is expected. And then the second part really is the assessment. You actually apply the content that you've mastered to the Scarlet Letter. So this is very important because you've already done this. You want to use this in creating your paragraph. That first part with the essential questions, take those answers because that content from Foster, you want to put that in your paragraph. The assessment where you've already applied it to the Scarlet Letter, you want to put that in your paragraph. So in looking at these two tasks, you've already written your paragraph. It's just that you didn't do it in paragraph form. And that's what you're going to focus on with the second part. But this week we've added a new little idea to make it seem a little bit more fun. In looking at our objective, you can see that for Cycle 2, we've added a little part where you're going to create a visual aid to demonstrate symbolism of weather and season. And I've got a sample in here, but I wanted to show that to you just so that you can kind of see what you've done. You've mastered the content, you've taken notes on it, you've done your JRC questions, and now you're going to create a visual using your iPad and any app that you choose. This task is set up so that you can submit it in Canvas, but I wanted to go over the directions with you for a moment just to make sure you understand. You will use any app on the iPad to compose a collage representing the meaning of the various weather and seasonal elements that occur in literature. Ideally, you're creating a sort of infographic to help students understand the meaning of weather and season in literature, even though they may not have actually read Foster's text. So there are two parts in this. First of all, you're going to identify the images and the words that make concrete statements about typical weather elements. And then step 2, you're going to integrate those elements into a visual that you've created using an image editor that's going to let you place text over the image. Now, I've given you a little more direction, but first, let's look at an example. Now, I created this example using geography because I did not want you to be able to copy the ideas from using weather and season. So I did it with geography, the last lesson that you completed, and you're going to do it with looking at weather and season. So a couple of things to point out. You'll notice there are a few images in here to help you to identify what they are. I've also included guided questions to help you or any readers of our infographic. I've given little quotes by each of the images to kind of help to solidify it, and I've broken it down in terms of places and directions. So I've also given the title up here. So this infographic would really help readers who don't necessarily understand or who never read the chapter on geography from Foster's text. You may be wondering how you're going to get started with this type of project. And the first thing is that you're going to need to actually select and reflect on the weather or the season that is described by Foster. So that would be my first step. And I would look for those keywords, that key vocabulary that you need to include. From there, you want to identify the images that you can use for the collage, including the text that you're going to pair with each image. You can use images from anywhere. Some really easy places: Flickr, Fotolog, Our Media, image sites. You can use the Library of Congress. You can do a Google search. In the assignment guide, these Flickr, Fotolog, Our Media, and then Library of Congress, those are all hyperlinked, so you can use them to link directly to the website. I did not include this information, but you are going to want to pick your app as well. A couple of different apps that I recommend. The one that you saw the example was Glogster. You can get a free account and set up Glogster and use that one. And then a lot of students have used like Pic Collage, Comic Light, Bitstrips. You can put Bitstrips together, and you can decide whatever app. And if you're having some problems choosing an app, we'll be more than happy to help you figure that out. Now, we did not identify for you a thorough model because we really want to see what you're looking at. And we're still scaffolding that instruction. You had the product model, so I showed you the product that's expected, and I spoke through it using the example of geography. And here's an example with guiding questions. So we want you to think, first of all, what is that key vocabulary that I need to make sure I include? And then what is the imagery that will fit the vocabulary? And what text should I include so that readers will learn the symbolism of the weather or season element? So you might have a picture of rain. Foster asserts that rain is really important. So you might put a picture of the rain and then underneath it some sort of text explaining what Foster says rain represents. So with weather and season, you have several different visuals that you're going to need. So you're going to need a variety of pictures and a variety of text to explain each of those elements. So we've given you a final product model. We've given you the steps that you should take, and we've given you guiding questions to help you think through this process. And I just kind of want to reiterate for you what you're doing. So that first step that you're looking at is going to be the vocab. What are the key terms that Foster talks about that I need to include? The second one is going to be images. What image should I come up with that I can pair with that vocabulary? And then the third part is, what is the text that I need to include in order to help readers thoroughly understand what each weather or season pattern symbolizes in the text? So let's look at this again. Now, with this, I want you to just sort of think through the process that we've talked about, okay? When you look at this, we talked about number one, I wanted to recognize the vocabulary, the image, and the text. And I've sort of marked out a couple of areas, but right here you can see north, south, so I've got direction there. I've also got places. I talk about the woods, talking about going up, going down, and then over here you can't read it at this point, but we talk about the south. I also include the guided questions. You don't have to have the guided questions on yours. I have the guided questions on there just because I think they're a very good visual to help us to think through the process of applying Foster's principle to the text. So another key vocabulary bit is the title right here. And then you can see there's sort of the picture to start the story off and then a picture to go with each of the images. And those pictures are created using Bitstrips. One little piece of feedback I would have for this is that there is no reference to Foster, and I do think that there should be some sort of, maybe up here where it says geography, it could say Foster's Geography or something like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask your teacher at this time. If not, you are ready to begin your task. Again, the explanation of the task is in your Canvas assignments in the modules, and you can go through each element and just sort of see what you are looking at and start to build your project as you go. Have a great time and ask your teacher if you have any questions.